Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." So Peter went out with the other disciple, and they were going toward the tomb. Both of them were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. And stooping to look in, he saw the linen cloths lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came following him and went into the tomb. He saw the linen cloths lying there, and the face cloth, which had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture, that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to their homes. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. And as she wept, she stooped to look into the tomb. And she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had lain, one at the head and one at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Aramaic, "Rabbi," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and that he had said these things to her.
Amen. Good morning. Happy Easter, everybody. Yeah, you are a good-looking bunch today. Everybody just look at your neighbor and say, "You look really good today." Just real quick. You do. Faith Community Church, I don't think you ever look better than on Easter morning. And I look good too, don't I? Yeah. Well, it's good to be with you. My name is Tim. I'm one of the pastors here at Faith Community Church, and the reading on which our teaching is based today was just read by Shannon in the video there. It's from the Gospel of John, chapter 20. If you want to turn there with me this morning, it's on page 906 in a Bible in the chairs in front of you. And while you're finding that this morning, I just want to share a quick invitation about next week with you before we begin our teaching. Next week, we just want to let you know we're starting a brand new teaching series called See the Light. If you've been around Faith Community Church for a couple of years now, you might remember that we have been kind of working our way through the Gospel of John in really big chunks, and we're going to pick up in John chapter 8 next week. The Gospel of John, which we're actually, we're looking at here in chapter 20 as well, the Gospel of John begins with this statement. The light, speaking of Jesus, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not overcome it. Light, of course, universally, not just in Scripture, but all philosophies, all religions, light represents divine revelation and hope and truth and peace and salvation and goodness and justice and so on, whereas darkness represents confusion and lostness, trappedness, blindness, hopelessness. And so John begins the whole story that we're going to jump into in a minute. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not understood it. And in this series, we're going to read John chapters 8 through 12, where the light of Jesus and the darkness of humanity, of the world, are going to come into sharp conflict with each other. And we are going to see Jesus saying, "I am the light of the world. Anyone who follows me will never walk in darkness again, but will have the light of life. So we're excited to jump into that next week. You're invited. We hope that you'll come back. But on to our reading for this Easter, John chapter 20. And it begins this way, John 20, verse 1. Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have laid him." If you read the accounts of resurrection morning that we have in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will be greeted by a bewildering cast of characters and different events. You'll read about angels, soldiers, disciples, women, earthquakes, lightning, running, hiding, weeping, rejoicing, fear, hope, worship, confusion, belief, and unbelief, and all in the space of like 6 hours or something like that. And it's all mixed together in what is admittedly a difficult trail to follow. I just want to start with the observation this morning that in John's account of the resurrection, he has made a decision to focus in on the experience of one person, Mary Magdalene. He does acknowledge, he shows an awareness that other people were there. In the second verse, Mary says, we don't know where they've laid him. That's a reference to, there's a whole group of women that went that morning. But John has chosen to focus his account of the resurrection on one person, and that is Mary. And I want to show you that I think the reason for that is that John wants to see that in the resurrection and the ascension of Jesus Christ, he has become the center of all reality. And until we learn to see and accept and understand the resurrection and ascension of Jesus, there will always be something about reality in our lives, in the world, in history, that is going to escape us, that we won't be able to see. This is a theme in the Gospel of John, that Jesus will do or say something, and it will say that so-and-so, an individual or a group of people, believed in his name. But if you continue reading, it becomes clear in the next story or whatever that though they believed and their belief was sincere, there's something about Jesus they still don't understand. And Jesus says several times in the Gospel of John that he's going to be lifted up. He's talking about the cross and the resurrection. He says, something's coming, I'm going to be lifted up, and when you see that, you will finally understand. And in Mary's story, we get to see how that happens. We get to see the penny drop, so to speak. Does that phrase make any sense? You get to see the penny drop, like the lights are going to come on for her all of a sudden. The resurrection and the ascension of Jesus are the key. They're the missing piece. They're the plot twist that everything hangs on. And when you can see, suddenly everything makes sense. You know how if you ever read a mystery story or you watch a mystery story, you only get to see the mystery for the first time once, right? And then forever after, the book is ruined for you, right? Because you can see, you know what's coming, and it all makes sense, and everything fits together. That is the resurrection and ascension of Jesus. Once you see it, everything else falls into place. Mary is someone who looked straight at Jesus and didn't recognize who he was right away. So what we're going to talk about today is just why Mary couldn't see the resurrection, why it matters that she should, and how Jesus meets us in our incomplete faith. Okay? So first, why did she miss it? You read through the gospel accounts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and over and over you'll see Jesus, you'll hear him say to the disciples, I'm going to die and be raised on the third day. I'm going to be betrayed into the hands of sinners. I'll be crucified, and on the third day, I'll rise again. Here's Luke 9:22 as an example. The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed, and on the third day be raised. Third day, third day, third day. It happens over and over. Now, it's the morning of the third day, and no one is there. No one is waiting outside the tomb. No one is Peter and John, somebody has to go fetch them. Mary is there, but she's there to grieve and to embalm a dead body. She's not looking for a resurrection either. Now, Mary was there when Jesus said again and again, I'm going to be raised on the third day. So you might think that when she comes to the tomb and sees it opened, you would think she might say, the third day. And it's open. And everything would fall into place. And that is not what happens at all. When Mary sees the tomb open, she rushes back to tell them they've taken the Lord. She's talking about grave robbery. Grave robbery was very common in the ancient world, especially if you were rich or famous. And it says that when John, so this is John's eyewitness testimony, it says when he saw the grave closed in verse 8, that was the moment, he says. When I saw the grave closed neatly folded, I believed. Mary does not have that experience. What does she conclude? She is convinced that someone stole the body. They have taken my Lord, and I don't know where they've laid him. She says that several more times. In Mary's mind, it is more likely that grave robbers came in the night, overcame the Roman guard, good luck with that, opened the sealed tomb, stole the body, then neatly folded the grave clothes and put him back before leaving into the night. Anything in her mind is more likely than a resurrection, even in the presence of two angels. And I don't know how she's processing that, but even in the presence of two angels, anything is more likely in her mind than a resurrection. Sometimes modern people read these resurrection accounts and think, well, of course they believe that. They're a bunch of primitive, uneducated bumpkins. They'll believe anything. They don't have Netflix. They'll believe anything. Nothing could be further from the truth. No one in the ancient world had a framework for believing in a resurrection like this one. Greeks and Romans, to whom the gospel first really came and took hold, Greeks and Romans didn't want resurrection. For them, salvation was escape from the physical body. They didn't want to be put back in a physical body. And for the Jews, resurrection was something coming at the end of the world when God will renew all things. They believe, just as we do, that at the end of all things, God is going to renew all of creation. There's going to be a resurrection of everyone from the dead and then a judgment. But no one believed that a single person could be or would be raised in the middle of history. So when they heard Jesus saying the third day, the third day, the third day, they must have said it's a metaphor. He's speaking in metaphor again. He does that occasionally. It never crossed their minds that Jesus was talking about a literal physical resurrection from the dead. And yet, in the weeks and months that follow Easter, tens of thousands of Jews embraced a story which would have been inconceivable to them prior to Easter. And that story is, first of all, that the God of Israel, the Creator God who made everything, has become one of us. And secondly, that man has died the most humiliating death possible for sin and then been raised from the dead. That happened because something broke into their worlds they could not have conceived of prior to Easter. Also, if you were making this up, all four gospel accounts agree on this, that Mary Magdalene was the first eyewitness to the resurrection and that she was the first person sent with that message to other people. So she's the first witness and the first evangelist. If you were making this up in the first century, you would never have Mary Magdalene be your first eyewitness. These are deeply patriarchal societies. And to have a woman, and especially a woman like Mary, which I'll describe later, be your first eyewitness, the only reason to do that, the only reason she's here is because she was there. There's no other reason. Now, what stands out about Mary has to be her heart. Mary is a lover. Mary is a lover. She is passionate. It comes through in everything she does. She's devoted. She's up before dawn. She runs to find help. She's desperate to find Jesus. She stays and weeps when everyone else has left. She's ready to fight the gardener. Did you take him? You better give him back to me. She's got a passionate, sincere, beautiful heart. She's bold and devoted. And she cannot see Jesus right in front of her. It's the question of the story. Why can't she see? And the clue is found in the angel's question. Look at the gentle way that both the angels and the Lord speak to Mary. Verse 13, woman, why are you weeping? Verse 15, why are you weeping? And Jesus adds a second question. Who are you looking for? Why are you weeping? And who are you looking for? It is not because they don't know. Everybody understand? These are not information gathering questions. They are leading Mary to reflect. It's a tender rebuke to her beautiful heart. I just think how many times in subsequent years did Mary reflect on these questions and laugh to herself? Why are you weeping? Who are you looking for? As beautiful as her heart is, as sincere as her devotion and love are, there is more to Jesus than she had ever been able to put together. And she's weeping because there was always more to him than she knew. Why would you go looking for God in a grave? Why would you ever look for God in a grave? After all this time walking around Galilee together, all that she'd seen and all that she'd heard, there are still things about Jesus she had not put together and understood. And the resurrection and ascension of Jesus are the key to seeing. And part of John's message to you is to say, until you understand and accept these two things and move them to the center of your world, you will always be looking for God in a grave. He will remain dead and lost on you. Some of you have grown up in church your whole lives. And for whatever reason, the implications, the truth of the resurrection and the ascension of Jesus have just never penetrated your heart. This whole time, you've not known who you were with, just like Mary. Why would you look for God in a grave? Mary is about to make a transition that everyone must make if you're going to find life and hope and joy in Jesus. She's about to come to grips with his true identity, that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And his resurrection and ascension mean that all things now, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones, rulers, dominions, or authorities, everything now is from him, through him, for him, and to him. He is the center of all of reality. And there is no way to make any sense out of your life, out of the universe, out of history, apart from him. He's the key that unlocks the door, the hinge on which everything else turns. And he is either ascended to the Father, as he says in verse 17, or this is a huge waste of your time. And I'm going for another 45 minutes this morning. You just wasted like half of your day. In him is life, John says. And that life is the light of men. We live in an age of boutique spiritualities and custom-made religions and curated faith. And all that we ask each other is, are you sincere? Are you committed? Are you passionate about what you believe? Is it working for you? Is it helping you? Because if it is, then it must be true for you, right? This is the way we talk to each other. If it's working and helping and you love it and your heart is in the right place, then it has to be true for you. And we tell each other fairy tales. We talk about the universe watching out for us. We talk about the universe controlling our fate. We talk about karma seriously. We sincerely believe we can manifest our preferred future. We send each other good vibes. But does anyone stop to ask if that's true? If there's any reality to it? And here is John's point. Jesus Christ has been bodily raised from the dead in history. He is the creator God in flesh, and he has blasted a hole through death on your behalf. How can you know? How can you know that everything is going to be okay? I can send you, honestly, all the good vibes I want. It's not going to help you. How can you know that when you come to the hour of your death, you need not fear? That everything that has happened to you and everything that you've done to other people and all the evil you've been involved in and all the evil that's been done to you, that all of it will be taken up by someone who loves you and knows you and cares about you and sees you and will be forced to mean something to you. How can you know that? Because Jesus Christ has been raised from the dead and is seated at the right hand of the Father. That's the only way. You guys really are better than first service. The universe, I love you, okay? Please hear, the universe does not love you. It does not see you and does not know your name, and you will never throw your arms around the universe and squeeze it till it says, ouch. All the while, Jesus stands and says to us, what are you looking for? Why are you here? And when you see that, well, everything comes to light. I just want you to notice also then that Jesus draws near to incomplete, misguided faith. He graciously draws near and he knows what to do. I just want to read this to you again, verse 11. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. And as she wept, she stooped to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had lain, one at the head, one at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I don't know where they laid him." Having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but didn't know it was him. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you laid him, and I will come get him." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." Mary is a sincere spiritual seeker. She is looking for Jesus. Her love for Jesus has led her to this place. The resurrection and ascension of Jesus and all of their implications, his true identity, has not been understood. And if Jesus Christ sits back and waits for her to figure this out, he is going to wait forever. Right now, Mary believes she is in the middle of a disaster. She believes that her life is over, she has been completely abandoned, and she is in the midst of the worst nightmare in her entire life. There are two angels sitting in front of her and the living God standing behind her, and she feels completely alone and abandoned. She believes it is over and everything is going to pot and it's awful. And she's about to become the most famous person, one of the most famous people in history, and she believes her life is absolutely meaningless. This is the greatest moment in history, and she cannot see a thing. Mary. Mary. What is Jesus doing? In John chapter 10, Jesus said to Mary and the other disciples, "I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and they know me. And my sheep hear my voice, and I call them by" what? By name. And I lead them out. Mary. And immediately she can see. Mary's love and her passion, her desire have led her to this place, but Jesus still has to speak. It is not salvation by you figuring something out. It is not salvation by Mary finding her way to Jesus. It is always Jesus finds you. Why are you weeping? Who are you looking for? Mary, you love me, but your understanding of who I am is just too small. You're not looking for the real me. You haven't known me quite yet, but I'm here now, on the other side of the cross, raised from the dead, and I've come to speak your name. Jesus he knows how to meet incomplete faith. He knows how to open hearts and eyes that are blind, and it is all grace. And he knows your name. And this is really hard to explain. I've been struggling all week. How do I help them understand? I will just share personally, I was one of those people that spent my whole life in church, and I just could not see the point. I believe, forgive me, I'm not trying to be mean or unkind, this is my story. I believe Jesus was for old ladies and people, who didn't have it together, and I had it together, et cetera, et cetera. And somewhere in high school, I figured out I do not have it together. There are a lot of old ladies a lot better and smarter than me. And Jesus began to call my name. I can't describe it to you, but he began to lead me, to draw me, to show me my weakness and my need for a Savior. And I don't know how to explain that to you, but it's what he does. And I get to stand up here and tell you today that when he calls, there is nothing that needs to hold you back, because Jesus chose Mary. It's a shocking detail of history, but you can see it right here in the reading today. 10 minutes earlier, Peter and John were both there. So was Jesus, hiding around the corner apparently. Peter and John would have made outstanding eyewitnesses. Peter and John would have brought so much more credibility to the story that was being told. But he waits until the dudes are gone, and he shows himself to Mary, a woman in a deeply patriarchal society and a woman with profound problems. Mary Magdalene, if you know her story, Luke chapter 8, we're told that when Jesus first met Mary, he cast 7 demons out of her. Now, it is possible that the 7 is literal, like, kapow, there's 1, kapow, there's 2, all the way up to 7. That's possible. What it most likely means, it's just a common Semitic saying to say this woman was completely possessed. She was absolutely given over to spiritual darkness. That's almost certainly what it really means. Now, the only other description we have of a person plunged into darkness on that scale, Mark chapter 6, we're told about a man with a legion of demons. And the way he's described is he was completely out of control. He had to live outside of the city. He lived among the tombs. He was crying out and slashing himself, screaming all the time. He walked around naked, and no one could restrain him. And it is likely that Mary of Magdalene was something like that. And this is who Jesus Christ waits for, to make her the first missionary and the first eyewitness. So that I get to stand up here and say to you today, it does not matter what you have done, where you have been, what has been done to you, Jesus Christ knows how to call your name. And when he does, you can come. You can come. And he takes up everything that has happened to you and forces it to mean something forever. Mary Magdalene embodies the message that she's commissioned to go with. He says, go tell my brothers, he says. Notice he doesn't say, go find those miserable betrayers and let them know I'd like to see them tomorrow. That is not what he says. Go tell my brothers that I'm ascending to their God and my God, to their Father and my Father. What I've done on the cross is sufficient to make us family. forever. She embodies that message. I'll invite the worship team to come on up. I just want to close with 3 invitations this Easter for you. First, some of you maybe are realizing, like Mary, that though you've been around Jesus and grown up around Jesus, maybe like Mary, the penny has never really dropped. Jesus was something your parents were into, maybe your friends were into. Maybe there was a time in your life when you would say you did love Jesus, but you just have never seen the point. And he's never been God to you. His resurrection and ascension have never been at the center, or at least it was never good news to your heart. And maybe you can hear him calling your name today. Maybe you see yourself in Mary. You have angels in front of you, God himself behind you, yet you feel completely alone. You feel like you're in the middle of a disaster. And I just want to say, I believe you may be here today because he is calling your name and drawing you to himself and asking, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for? Some of you, many of you, are followers of Jesus. And when I talk about being drawn by sheer grace, you know exactly what I mean. You know what it is like to be spiritually blind and now to see the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. You see the cross and your heart says, that is my only hope. I just want to remind you, followers of Jesus, that learning to make the resurrection and ascension of Jesus the center of your life is a lifelong process. This is the Christian life. Learning to make who Jesus actually is the center of your being. And I do not mean that in a theoretical way. I'm talking about like my life, the last month. And I've been walking with Jesus half of my life, still learning to let these truths work their way down to the root of my life. Finally, you may be here today. You have no idea how you got here. Grandma told you to get in the car. She did not explain where you were leaving. And here you are. Or a friend invited you. You had too much to drink last night. You just woke up on the bench and you wandered. I don't know how you don't know how you got here, and I don't know how you got here. I just want to say to you, to the person with the beautiful heart, the sincere heart, the thing you're looking for is Jesus Christ. The thing your heart is longing for is him. And he knows your name. And he is standing behind you right now saying, what are you looking for? Let's stand and sing in response to who he is and all that he's done and all that we become.